Coming up on BG today, Bowling Green State University has changed its COVID isolation period, why the change was made, and how it's still confusing students. Next.
And BGSU brings back the free campus restore, why this on-campus thrift store got started and how you can help.
Plus, a shakeup within the men's basketball team after a pair of players are dismissed. What led to the release just as the season winds down. All of these stories and more on BG24's BG Today.
Live from the campus of Bowling Green State University.
But first, Bowling Green State University's preview day is taking over campus on Monday. Welcome to BG Today. I'm Claire Mitchell.
And I'm Ethan Watts. BGSU's President Day Open House marks the largest in-person event of the year. The university says Preview Day allows high school seniors and families to see life on campus, but the university is no longer canceling classes for the event, which could cause delays and problems for students as they head to class. One BGSU student says the university is asking students to change their daily schedule because of the event.
They put up like a sign on our bathroom saying to make our schedule, change our schedule around everything happening. So I feel like it's kind of strange that we have to change our schedule and how we live.
BG24 reached out for a comment from the university to see why classes were not canceled. They have yet to reply.
BG's required isolation time after a positive COVID test is now even shorter, but this change has caused some confusion among students. BG24's Jake Petras looked into this change, hoping for some clarification.
COVID-19 has brought a lot of changes to BGSU, and another change has been made. BGSU updated its isolation protocol over winter break. BGSU's Chief Health Officer, Ben Beatty, says the change was in response to the CDC's recent findings about the Omicron variant.
What they were seeing with this new variant was sort of a shorter timetable for infectiousness, and so that's why the 10 days was reduced to 5 days isolation.
The protocol states those who test positive must isolate for a minimum of 5 days, even if symptoms aren't showing. But this new change has led to some confusion for students, like Olivia Hartpence, who was contacted only 4 days into isolation.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty confusing. I personally am higher risk when it comes to that type of stuff. So when I was out, my 4th day, they called and they were like, "Hey, are you coming back?" And I'm like, I'm still feeling the pain, the symptoms from it. And they're like, "Oh, but are you showing symptoms?"
Even though the protocol says 5 days, Beatty says in some cases, isolation could last longer.
Symptoms have resolved. So that's where I think the confusion comes in. Is some people think, well, it's been 5 days and I feel like I'm still sick, but can I go around people anymore? We want you to be feeling better. So if you're still actively coughing, if you're still feeling run down, if you're still feeling sick, again, that's BGSU policy across the board is stay home if you're sick.
The CDC also recommends to wear a mask for a couple days after isolation. Reporting for BG24, I'm Jake Petras.
Thanks, Jake. Since the start of the semester, BGSU has reported over 650 COVID cases.
And an on-campus organization aims to get students ready to head to the polls for the upcoming election season. BGSU Votes is registering eligible students to become voters this week. The nonpartisan voter engagement organization wants students registered in preparation for the May 3rd primary election. This week they are celebrating I Heart Democracy Week, a movement celebrating a love for civic engagement.
So I Heart Democracy Week is every year during Valentine's Day. So we're just celebrating love and also democracy because we love democracy.
BGSU Votes is tabling at the Student Union until Friday from noon until 3. Visitors can receive voter registration forms as well as democracy-themed stickers and valentines.
Bowling Green State University has its own thrift store where everything is donated and free to the BGSU community. Campus Restore is open every Wednesday afternoon from 12:30 to 2:30 until the end of March, excluding the week of spring break. Sustainability Manager Dr. Nick Hennessy says they receive a huge variety of items each year.
From on campus, from students, faculty, or staff, or other areas, but it's still useful items. So a huge variety from office supplies to clothing to kitchen supplies to toys and games and household. You can just look around and see everything.
university started this idea years ago with the goal of waste reduction. Donations start near the third week in April, or you can bring in your unwanted but reusable items during the campus restore hours. It's the middle of February and there's hardly any snow left to show for it. Agatha, is there anything heading in our way this week?
Thanks, Claire. Yesterday we saw what we call in Ohio to be fool's spring, but don't get your hopes up too much because this week we're back to our usual freezing temperatures with a flash flood advisory going from today until tomorrow at 1 a.m. Tonight we're looking at a high of around It's going to be 53 degrees and our low is around 14. We have a 100% chance of rain in the morning, and then later on today it's going to move on to a more wintry mix, and then we have nice and high wind speeds going from 10 to 15 miles an hour. Moving on to tomorrow, it's going to be a bit less dreary. It's going to be partly cloudy with our high of around 28 degrees and our low around 19, so it's going to be pretty cold, and then our wind is going to be a bit calmer going from 5 to 7 miles an hour, and then this weekend it's going to be nice and sunny. Saturday we have our high of around 32, right around freezing, and our low of 21. And then this Sunday, we have our high of 44 and our low of 36. That'll be it for this week's weather. Back to you, Claire.
It felt good to ditch the jacket for the walk to class. Thanks, Agatha. Part of South Dunbridge Road is closing due to install utility lines. The closure stretches from Worcester Street near Meyer to Napoleon Road near Copper Beach. Work started today on the project, and the city expects the road to reopen on March 4th.
And after the resignation of their head coach, the BGSU cheer team went to Orlando, Florida for the College Cheerleading National Championship. Lucky for them, they would find luck with their interim head coach. Going against teams like Ole Miss, Florida State, and Boise State, the team placed third in the D1A Small Co-Ed division and third in the D1A All-Girls Game Day competition. Senior Trevor Long expressed his happiness with their performance.
We were really happy with those results, with some of the things that happened with our team at the beginning of the season. So just going through all that adversity and really being resilient was awesome to go down and see those results.
You can catch the cheer team at any home basketball game this season, and if you're really interested in the squad, they're having tryouts at Epler Gym on April 9th.
A new face is on the ice as BGSU hockey makes a late season addition.
And where the Falcon basketball team stack up against their conference foes. More with Falcon Athletics after this.
Bowling Green State University, Army ROTC Fighting Falcon Battalion. For more information, visit our website, www.bgsu.edu/army-ROTC, the #1 leadership course on campus.
The biggest thing is we got to stick together. The biggest thing, we can't fall apart right now. Got to be able to stick together, and we got to get better.
24 hours later, 2 players were released from the active roster. Senior Myron Gordon and junior Joe Reese were dismissed from the men's basketball team. Coach Michael Huger says the 2 players failed to meet the behavioral standards of the team, and the Falcons will now have to reset their starting 5 as they move into their final 5 games of the regular season. Last week, we mentioned a new addition to the BGSU hockey program. This week, BG24 reporter Steve Iwanek sits down with Sammy Vola, the newest BGSU Falcon.
A few weeks ago, BGSU hockey goaltender Zach Rose suffered a season-ending hip labrum tear that left head coach Ty Egner looking for another defender of the net. Outside of freshman Christian Stover, the Falcons really needed another option to help protect the net during the stretch run of games. Luckily, they got a mid-season addition, Mr. Michigan himself, Sammy Vola. Sammy Vola announced his commitment to BGSU on January 19, 2022. Before that, he was a member of the Johnstown Tomahawks, a Tier 2 junior hockey program in the North American Hockey League.
It's a little bittersweet to leave Johnstown a little bit early, but for sure I feel like I made the right decision coming in.
In his career with the Tomahawks, Vola put up a record of 31-4-2-2 in 51 games, with a 92% save percentage and 2.46 goals against average. Now as a Falcon, he is looking to become the centerpiece of a young and promising team for years to come.
Just whatever I can, really, whether that's being a good teammate or, just being there for the guys or it's playing, whatever it is, just being the best I can be.
The sudden adjustment to a new school and team, however, has not been the easiest for Vola.
It's not only, an adjustment like socially, but, academics. I haven't been in school for about, 2.5 years, so that's been for sure an adjustment. But, I can't say enough great things about the guys and how well they welcome me, and I really do appreciate that.
With an injury to junior goaltender Zach Rose, the job has been taken over by fellow freshman Christian Stover for the rest of the season. But Vola is always preparing himself to be thrown into the fire if and when his name is called. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Steve Iwanek.
Vola has yet to see the ice, but you can be sure he'll be ready once his name is called. Meanwhile, as we approach the month of March, we also approach the Mid-American Conference basketball tournaments. The standings have continued to tighten up, and with only a handful of games left, every game matters that much more. Let's take a look. Toledo women's basketball has left the conference in the rearview mirror this season. The Rockets received votes in the national poll after their 29-point win over Bowling Green, and they also clinched their spot just last night. The DeAsia Fair-led Buffalo Bulls find themselves in second, 3 games behind the Rockets. After the top 2 seeds, 3rd through 9th is where it really becomes a blur. Akron currently sits 3rd after being picked to finish last in the preseason poll. Kent State and Western Michigan make up the core of the top 8, followed closely by Ball State, Bowling Green, Northern Illinois, and the Ohio Bobcats. A very beaten-up Ohio Bobcats team may be the surprise of the bunch. The Falcons currently sit 7th with a tough stretch of games to end the season. Moving over to the men's standings, at the top of the men's standings, Ohio and Toledo have continued to trade paint at the top throughout the course of the season, and now Kent State has ridden their 7-game win streak right up into the top as well. Buffalo and Akron sit in positions 4 and 5, and both currently have streaks over 500. 6th to 11th is where the battle really heats up. Now a reminder, the top 8 teams at the end of the regular season qualify for the tournament. Bowling Green currently sits 9th out of the 12 teams on the list, and with only a handful of games left to finish the season, they're going to need to piece together some wins. We will continue to look at the men's basketball standings and the women's basketball standings as we near the end of the season. Back to you, Ethan.
Absolutely, we will. Thank you for watching BG Today. Follow us for our latest news on Twitter at BG24 TV or find us on the web at bgfalconmedia.com.
We'll be back next Thursday with updates from around Bowling Green and Wood County. Have a good afternoon.